Hey guys, welcome to the final Brett's property rant for 2020. So I've got the next 2 weeks off. Well, actually it's 3 weeks, in fact. But we're back again in I think the 6th of January it is. So yeah, thank you for joining us today. We've got actually, as I said, finishing on high because it is amazing how much good information has come out. And we're looking pretty positive right now, which may seem quite weird. And I know I've been saying this for a while. It's almost surreal, but I guess that much cash floating around in the economy is what that does. And and it really is playing its part and doing what it should be doing. So I think that's very positive. But anyway, so let's have a look at what we're going to cover today. So unemployment rate, wow. Okay, so there's some surprising things here. Good or bad surprising? But we'll have a look in a sec. Redundancies, even more wow. Okay, so I think the government may well have struck a home run here, which is quite good for them. Brexit still on hold, or still holding on, I should say. It's not there yet, but as I've been saying, we'll get one. I think we'll get one. UK, a shipping centre. Could this be a thing? And what they're comparing themselves to is Singapore, which I thought was quite interesting. Singapore, obviously being a base. My previous house that we used to live in overlooked the ocean. There's thousands of ships out there, or hundreds of ships probably, or every day, all day, every day, and they're constantly changing. So could that be the UK? We'll see. The Great Reset debate. I mean, I did a video and it's amazing the response we got from that. So we'll have a look at what's going on there. London and commuter towns. I think they're where, they're starting to come back. And I think that's where we're going to see a bit of movement next year, which is quite good. And then we're going to look at a development we've got, Eden Grove. And then finally, 2020, the year that was, and then 2021, the year that is or will be. And we'll have a look at sort of the basic overview of where I think things are going. Because I say finishing on high, and I really believe that. I would have expected by this time things would have slowed down a bit more, but they haven't. They've actually kept going, which is great news. Yeah, so interesting. But look, guys, if you can, make sure you like, subscribe, and by all means comment. I should have the comments fixed so we can answer them live as we go through. But yeah, look, by all means, ask whatever questions you've got. And, I've been actually getting on daily YouTube and Facebook answering people's questions and that sort of stuff. So that's been really good and really starting to get that social media happening. So yeah, awesome. Okay, so let's get started. So unemployment rate. So it was 4.8. It's only gone to 4.9. So everybody was expecting it to go like this. And actually it's kind of done really not a lot. 0.1% and this is only in a month. But the amazing thing is, and the good thing is, that means that the furlough scheme's working and that the economy is actually reasonably resilient. So, so yeah. So I just thought I just want to check to make sure technical was working. But yeah, so not a lot to worry about. And actually, what that means is we can go through Christmas and the early New Year, and really, I think it's the 23rd of January. We'll get new data coming through. So, we've got at least 5 weeks now of pretty much not a lot of data coming out. But for the most part, it'll be good stuff anyway. So I think we can go away, have a good Christmas, not worry about the coronavirus. Obviously, being in the UK with most of it locked down now, and it seems to be, everything's in phase 3. So, unfortunately, there's not much about that side we can do. But the good thing is economically, things are looking up and looking okay. And I think that is, quite good. So yeah, the other side of this is that, if 4.8 to 4.9, very small redundancies, then we've got redundancies, to October 20, 13.3 per 100,000 employees. Previously, it was 11.3. So it's gone up a little bit, but certainly not the massive jump that we expected, and to continue on. So what it means is that furlough scheme being extended through to March has really had an impact on redundancies, and I think that's great. Now, is it just kicking the can down the road? Maybe so, but I think it's a good can to kick down the road because getting through this winter period and into the spring bounce is actually going to be quite good, and hopefully by that stage, a lot more positivity around vaccines, and not just one vaccine, but multiple vaccines. I think that could work quite well. So look, guys, if you've got comments, any thoughts on redundancies, has it affected you guys or anything like that? Make sure you type them into the comments, and we'll happy to answer them, happy to give my thoughts on it. But certainly the stats that are coming out, in fact, all the stats that are coming out are much more positive than what they could have been and what a lot of people are saying they should be. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, it's going to happen in 2021, and the debt tsunami, which we covered last week, but actually, this is now 5-6 months where it's almost been, we're waiting for the negative, and it's been positive and positive and positive. And then you look at places like China, and you realize that even in China, they've bounced back and their economy's got back into it. Singapore, where I'm, if I go out to a supermarket, it's bloody packed. It's amazing how resilient and how things are bouncing back. If you're, wherever you are in the world, perhaps you can type in the comments and just say, how things are they bouncing back? Are they still? Because I know Europe is getting hit hard right now in that second wave. So things are locked down and things are a bit slower, but it seems to be affecting a lot more people. But people are moving about, it seems, a lot more now too than the first lockdown, which is either good or bad. We'll see. Good. So that's positive. And then the other thing that is just it's almost a comical script. You couldn't write it one of those Benny Hill things. Brexit. Brexit still has a chance. Now, realistically, if you've been following me, I've been saying since day one that it'd be the last hour of the last day, the last minute when we'll get a deal. I actually wasn't expecting it to be the last hour of the last day of the last minute, but it seems to be that's what the politicians want. Brexit talks until New Year's Eve, as late as deadlines missed. And if you've been watching this, there's been deadline after deadline getting missed and extended. Seems both, and certainly both sides want the thing. There's another one here. Government retreat on UK internal market air bill. Now, what this means is the bill can go through Parliament, become law, and therefore, because we need this before we can go into January 31st, so they had to get it through. So they've got rid of some of the contentious issues there, which is quite good. Type in the comments any comments you've got about what you think of Brexit and that sort of stuff. I know it was a heated discussion last year. It's calmed down a little bit this year. But I'm sure I'm going to step into a minefield if I say, give me your comments and see how we go. But look, guys, I think one of these things with, Brexit is, look, it's so on knife's edge now. It could go either way. I know I've been saying there'll be a deal. It'll be a political deal. It won't necessarily be a great economic deal because neither party will want to be seen to have lost. But both parties don't want to seem to have, failed, especially after, 4 years? 4 years? 4 years. In fact, it is. It's 4 years, 4.5 years. Yeah, wow. To not get a deal at the end of that is just a bit ridiculous. But look, pound is up as hopes rise for a Brexit trade deal. So it's likely. I think it's still likely. I think they really want it from a political perspective, and I think because of that, if the politicians really want something and both sides want it, then they will get it done, even if the substance of it is not necessarily, that helpful, that beautiful, or that good. But in any case, this week we've seen, deals done with, for who was it? Japan and UK. There's things like this coming up, which is UK draws up plans to rival Singapore with post-Brexit shipping regime. These are the sort of things that you want to see, where they're actually planning and implementing stuff. What do you guys think? Good or bad? Are they going to do that? Can they do that? Have they got the ports? Are they in the right spot? Certainly, Singapore is the, Southeast Asian hub, certainly, and has been for many years. But actually, Amsterdam, which is just across the channel, has been the home of shipping for many, many years. So are we going to try and steal some of their, some of their shipping lanes and some of their ships? We'll see. We are still a small country, but then again, Singapore is a small country and it achieved that. So, there's every possibility that can happen. And I think if that happens, and it's not just in shipping, but it's, we're doing nuclear power, we're doing lots of these highly technical things, which is great, So I'm pretty, look, am I Brexiteer or Remainer? Actually, to be fair, I think, there's lots wrong with the EU. And, there always has been. Nobody's denying that. Where we better leave depends what happens. And I think that's the question. Is what we do now that determines whether Brexit was a good decision or a bad decision. Now, I know a lot of people say it's a bad decision. I'm going to hate it because going out to Spain or, wherever, it's going to be harder. But the reality is, it's what we make it now, and I think that's what we need to see now is leadership in government. And unfortunately, that's not something you can rely on these days. Is politicians to be leaders, and I think that really is one of the issues that we potentially face. So, yeah, what do you think? Write in the comments. So, guys, it's an interesting one. So I did this lovely video on the Great Reset, Solution or Destruction. And it's got about 3.3 views, 3,300 views for the last 5 days. And actually, it's got a crap load of comments. And the interesting thing was, what I did was, they were basically saying, one of the comments from one of the Aussie spectators was going to say, own no property and be happier for it, was what basically the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab had said, and what the global elite, and it's a lot of this conspiracy sort of theory. And it based itself on, a certain document saying a certain thing. I couldn't find that. Yeah, I looked into it. Turns out it's not there. Yeah, I've been through the whole document. I've actually watched some videos. I reread one of the books that I'd already read from Klaus Schwab, who's the head chairman, founder of the World Economic Forum in Davos, which interestingly is going to be in Singapore this year. So I think it's May 12th to 15th. We'll have all the world's politicians and the global elite coming. Look, coming back to this, yeah, what I said basically was I don't think I think it's been misread. I think it's fake news, and I don't think that what it said was you'll own no property and be happier for it. In other words, we're going to take all private property away from you. I just don't see that happening, and I haven't seen that happening, and that's not what's discussed in his 3 previous books, and the reality is I don't see it. So I wrote about it, but of course, what we've had is a massive, it's been great, but sorry, let me just grab my, wait there, oh, sorry. Yeah, so I've got heaps and heaps of comments, but it's interesting. People telling me that, I'm blind, naive, I'm stubborn, I need to read the facts, I need to do all this sort of stuff, and very few people are giving me. Now, there's some intellectual discussion there, and there's some points, and look, I agree with a bit of this, but the interesting thing is with all of these sort of things is, it's amazing how many people, when you don't agree with them, they go in and attack you, and so all week I've been copying a left, right, and center. But it's interesting with this social media because it's a double-edged sword, because it does put you into the bubbles, and what you believe, you can actually get people to agree with you or disagree with you. And so, it's been an interesting social experiment for me to actually go into and give my opinion and then get absolutely, killed on it, even though it's not killed at all, So, okay, YouTube will hide my video, so 91's just written. Look, they may well, who knows? I haven't seen it. It's not talking about anything about the Great Reset. So I'm not, if they hide it, fine. I don't see that happening. I think, yes, if there's a lot of fake news and that sort of stuff, this is not fake news. And I think a lot of the discussion, they haven't hidden it yet. And I think a lot of the discussion that we're having, it can be had. I've got no problems with having it. I've got my opinion. I've gone and read, and I think this is the key for me here. Is not about the Great Reset, not about, owning property, not owning property, them taking private property away. It's about how we view social media and how we view property news and things like that. And I think you've got to have a method of filtering the information we get. And I think if you're going to be a successful property investor, you've got to do that. You've got to create that filter. Because if you don't, so many people, are willing to give you their opinion that isn't based on fact, that's based on headlines. And unfortunately, so many of us have got the 140 character tweets, and we think that is in-depth research, that is due diligence, and in actual fact, I really don't, for me, it's never about the headline. It's about what's said deep in the articles. It's about when you look at the person who's saying it, what have they been saying previously? What have they been leading up to that? What's the thought process and getting into that? And that way, you've got to read thoroughly, you've got to get to know the people. And I think that's where, if you've seen me, I'm very consistent about how I view things because I've been doing it for 25 years or more than 25 years. And, for me, conspiracy theories, look, I read them and I look into them, and a lot of them I fact check them. And, some of them I think actually have merit, not all of them. I think some of them are a bit far-fetched, and I think some of them just get a bit, off of the fairies. But I think we've got to do that. And I think coming into 2020, I think that's one of the key things that we have to do. So I'll leave that there, and let's move on to more interesting things about property. Okay, so one of my predictions is that next year, London and London commuter belts are going to be coming back in favour. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying right now, oh no, not London. London's dead now. Everyone's moving out. You'll see, and I'm copying a bit of heat for this as well. But the reality is, this now feels just like, from the developers I'm speaking for the money that's getting thrown into London and commuter towns, for the amount of development, from all the things that are going on, this feels exactly like we had back in 2011, 2012. Yeah, after the recession, when things had sort of settled down a bit, and then London started to get some momentum back up. Yeah, and then what happened was, over the next 5, 6 years, we saw properties pretty much double in London. And that's what I'm seeing right now. Now, that doesn't mean you go and jump into anything. I'm not saying to buy just anything, but what I am saying is there's certain things that I look at, and certain money going certain places and things like that, where I go, you know what, this is pretty good. And I'll give you an example. This is Eden Grove. Okay, this is in Staines-Upon-Thames. Okay, basically it's inside the M25. Okay, it's a London commuter town. It's close to Heathrow. Landscape, central gardens. Prices from 322. That'll be for a 1-bed or a studio. Completion in 2023. If you can go onto our website, and if you've not signed up, you'll have to sign up first. But basically, you can get Eden Grove. You can speak to the team if you want to have a look at the cash flow and see how all this comes together. Yeah. Now if we have a look at this, you'll see where that is. You can see it on the map. Yeah. So it's just on the west side of London, southwest of London. Yeah. Not very far out. You're talking about sort of 25, 35 minutes on the train, straight into central London. Yeah. This is the sort of stuff which we're looking at now, and you'll see a lot of, and I've been saying this for a while, whereas 10 years ago, we were east, now we're west. Yeah. A lot of money going in development in the west. Yeah. So, give me a shout out if in the comments if any of you guys are from the west, and if you've got local stuff going on, because there is a lot going on, and we're really starting to see, and we're having more conversations about Surrey, about all sorts of places, Slough, these sort of things where things are going on there. But guys, so let's have a look at 2020, the year that was, because I think this is quite interesting. Look, 2020 was one of those years where it started off with, huge potential. The election results in 2019, the end of it, December, I think it was 14. So it was probably literally a year ago. Yeah. Boris Johnson returns to power with a big majority, and he did. And all of a sudden, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Everything seemed to be right about the world. Yeah. And then we had January come, and then we had February come, and everything was right about the world, and stuff was happening, and it was great. Yeah. And then, of course, what happened? COVID happened. We had the lockdowns, and we had the lockdowns for 3 months, and we never had that before. It was new, it was weird, and the economies around the world stopped. And it took a bit of while for them to come through. And what did they do? They did furloughing, and actually, to be fair, the government in the UK in particular did everything right. Yeah. Sorry. I won't say everything right, but they certainly headed in the right direction for most things. And I think they navigated us through that period, which was great. And then obviously one of the things they did for the property market was they pulled off stamp duty. And interestingly, now they've confirmed that they're not going to extend stamp duty, which is something I predicted. I didn't think they would continue it. I thought, it got us through the period that it needed to. And now the problem is, if you're buying now, even though it's before, you're unlikely to complete before the end of stamp duty. The people are just that busy, and the mortgages and the whole pipeline is just ruined. But I think what that does is that really puts pressure on, and this is where you're going to see the prop tech come to the rescue, as long as the government gets out of the way and allows these things to happen. I think this is one of the keys. We've got a massive opportunity now. We've proven that the economy can't handle a big influx. Yeah, but technology can actually take us and avoid it, and create a seamless process. And it's needed. It's been needed for ages. I mean, I look at the process in Australia, and I look at the process in the UK, and the UK is so ridiculously, the way the chains work and the way the whole system just collapses. Yeah, it just is so inefficient. It's not productive. And I think as economies, we want to be productive. Guys, haven't had any comments. Any comments you want, any thoughts you want, chuck them in there, and I'm happy to answer them. But and then finally, house prices, they're saying will boom, or house prices boom, but they'll collapse when we lose jobs. Fortunately, I should say, we haven't lost jobs. We've actually seen, if anything, things keep going. And I thought, okay, October things are going to slow down because that's what they normally do. Then it's November. Now it's December. December figures have come out. Hasn't happened. So it's amazing. It just keeps going on and on. And for me, 2020 was a year of, it was a year of really weird and surrealness. But I know for a lot of people, they took this opportunity and they did amazing things with it. Yeah, they did amazing things. And that's great. And I think that's the best you can hope for, is to take whatever you're dealt and turn it into an opportunity. And I think the people that did that have had a decent year. And I do know a lot of people that had a bad year, and it's really affected them. But I think the other thing is there's been a real openness to mental health, general mental health. And in fact, forget mental health, that may be the wrong word to use, happiness, about choosing happy over, slogging away, 16 hours a day for a job that you don't really like, in an office that you don't really care. And I think those times have changed. They were already changing, yeah. Technology has just jumped in and fixed a lot of that. So, yeah. So let's jump on to 2021, next year, where I think, and look, it's interesting because there's a whole heap of attitudes here, yeah. And I forget that I did an email out to our investors today, and I was talking about the fact that 2021 will be the year that disappoints a lot of experts, because they will have predicted one thing and it'll turn out to be another. But the reality is that headline could be every year. Yeah, housing market expects 100,000 extra home sales in early. So they're expecting, and most things are saying that actually 2021, the start of 2021, we're going to see things happening and continue to happen all the way through. And I think now with the unemployment rate and the redundancies, which I've been saying, look after those and watch those. Yeah, what you're going to see is that carry through to March. Then we have the spring Rants. Then we'll see what happens with the government stimulus and that sort of thing. Yeah. But, house price predictions, busiest December in a decade, and potentially that will continue on. UK house price will collapse when buyers lose their jobs. Well, they're not losing their jobs yet. So really, most people now, I almost feel, I'm not going to revise it because I still think we've got to be weighed and measure about it. But, I said 3%, minus 3%. And I still think, really, and that'll be a range. I think London and Commuter will do a bit better, and maybe some of the other places will slow down and not do quite as well. But look, the range it's not 13%, it's minus 13% to plus 8. So that's the sort of range that you're looking at in house prices. I'm at minus 3, but some people are at plus 8, and they could well be right. There's enough money and liquidity in the marketplace that has to go somewhere. And one of the places it often ends up is in property, yeah. And whether that be small individuals, big businesses, as I reported last week, 100 billion in savings over the COVID period. That's a massive amount of money that potentially can come into the economy, whether that be in fixing up houses, extending rooms, whether that be hiring carpenters, electricians, all those things, whether it be going out and buying a new car, buying whatever it is, yeah. It could be anything like that. So far, 2021 had massive promise because we got the election right at the end. 2020 had massive promise because we had the election in 19. Obviously, that was a bit stilted because of the COVID, but then the tail end of it has been really, really positive the last sort of 6 months, except for the lockdowns and except for the actual fact that COVID has been there. But 2021, I think we're still going to see it similar to what these 6 months have been, where lockdowns and things like that, because there's not going to be the vaccine out quick enough. It's interesting, I didn't realise, but one of my mates I know works for FedEx. Never realised he's a computer geek. I just assumed he does whatever. Turns out that he works for a medicine and life sciences division. Yeah, I never even knew that. But there is a whole section, and apparently it's a big, important section, which ships vaccines and medicines and all sorts of things around to countries all around the world. Yeah, and it's something I never even realised. And they have been mobilised. So he basically said to me, he said, Brett, don't expect to hear from me next year. He said, I'm already that busy. It's ridiculous. We're getting everything wrapped up for that, So we'll see where that goes. But look, 2021, it's actually starting really well. I mean, I just look at it from our property sales thing. We opened back up fully again about 3 months ago. Pipelines filling, and actually people are buying, people are moving, people are doing all sorts of things. And it's almost like with the vaccine, that was an extra shot in the arm. And, whether the stamp duty happens or doesn't happen, I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference now. I actually think potentially, we're going to come through this, and 2021 could be a decent year. Yeah. And when I say decent, I'm not expecting plus 15% growth or that sort of stuff, but it could well be, I could be wrong and not be -3, it could be a +5. Which is a perfectly reasonable sort of thing. So you just said, we'll only, I think redundancies only really come through with young and olds, the people that don't own homes yet, or are they already most paid off their mortgages. Look, I think, you're right. Unfortunately, disproportionately, low income and the young get hit by the recession more so than, the middle class and that sort of stuff. But there is a lot of stimulus going in, and I think if those programs can get into working and quickly, and we can actually get those people up. I mean, we have to look after that, because we can't have this, which is what we did have. We can't have the young when the previous global financial crisis. Those guys now having a decade where they've lost, where they're basically austerity and all these sort of things really stole their ability to earn good money, to be able to save for a deposit, to be able to buy a house. And that's why I think schemes like 95% mortgages are so important, to get people on that ladder, to get them stability, to get them settled down, and I think 100%, I think we need that sort of stuff. So we'll see what happens next year, and certainly I'll be reporting on that sort of stuff and how we're going. But 2020 year, to sort of finish off the year, has been, I've got to say, I'm bloody impressed with the year, and I'm bloody impressed with the government. As much as I have been paying the crap out on them, and they've been the brunt of many jokes ever since the global financial crisis, and in fact even before, this year I have to say they did a pretty damn good job. So yeah. But guys, any other questions? That's me done for this year, in fact. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and hopefully, look, if you've got any questions, you can still chuck them in there. I'm happy to answer them. Happy to come back. Happy to converse wherever. Whatever the channel it is, you're on. And look, anything you got, but I'm back in, I'll still be on social media over Christmas, but I'll be back here on the 6th of January. And then on I think it's the 16th of January, start a new webinar series, which will be looking at the predictions for next year and the strategies that we think you need to build your portfolio. So that'll be starting on the 16th, but you can go to webinars, I think it's webinars. Oh no, sorry, webinars@gladfish.com. You can email me at any stage, or if you go to gladfish.com/webinars, then that'll get you the webinars. But look, guys, thanks very much, and have a fantastic Christmas and a wonderful New Year, and we'll see you in the New Year. But look, go, you can close down for the year, and know that not too much stuff is going to happen. There's not too much data coming out, So really, we're ending on a really positive note, which means we're starting the next year on a really positive note. Virus excluded, because obviously that's still raging and affecting it. But everything else, economically, is looking pretty good. All right, guys. Thank you, and have a great rest of 2020, and we'll see you in 2021. See you later. Bye.